Pay close attention. What you're about to hear will change your life forever. Watch until the end and your life could transform, starting now. You think aging is a distant reality, something that happens to others, not you. But here's the brutal truth: it's already happening. Right now. Every small choice, every ignored warning, every dismissed opportunity is quietly shaping the person you'll become in your later years. Aging isn't just about wrinkles or gray hair, it's about the slow, invisible erosion of who you once were. And if you're not careful, you'll wake up one day trapped in habits you never saw coming. Today, we're exposing the 12 unsettling behaviors seniors often fall into, behaviors that, if left unchecked, will steal your vitality, relationships, and joy. This isn't just for older adults, it's a wake-up call for anyone who plans to grow old with dignity. 1. The death of curiosity. The moment you stop learning, you start dying. It's a harsh truth, but one that separates the vibrant from the stagnant. Many seniors wear their decades of experience like armor, convinced they've seen it all. But the world doesn't pause for anyone. Technology evolves, culture shifts, even language transforms. What was once common knowledge becomes archaic, and those who refuse to adapt don't become wise elders, they become obsolete. The sharpest seniors, the ones who remain engaged, interesting, and influential, aren't the ones clinging to the past. They're the ones taking online courses, asking questions without embarrassment, and embracing ideas that challenge their old assumptions. They don't dismiss smartphones as too complicated or social media as a waste of time. Instead, they learn to use them, not because they have to, but because they choose to. Mental decay isn't an inevitable side effect of aging, it's a choice. The brain, like a muscle, weakens when unused. Studies show that cognitive decline accelerates in environments devoid of intellectual stimulation. The seniors who thrive are the ones who remain students of life, whether through reading, traveling, or simply engaging in meaningful conversations with people younger than themselves. Consider this: the world's most respected elders, artists, scientists, philosophers didn't stop creating or questioning because of their age. Picasso was painting in his 90s. Benjamin Franklin was inventing in his 80s. They didn't retreat into nostalgia, they leaned into curiosity. Yet so many seniors today shut down at the first sign of change. They scoff at new music, dismiss modern slang, and resist technological advancements, not because these things lack value, but because learning them requires humility. It requires admitting they don't know everything. And that admission is the first step to staying alive mentally, emotionally, and socially. The choice is simple: keep feeding your mind or let it starve. The former keeps you relevant, the latter turns you into a relic. 2. The complaining spiral. Aches, pains, and kids these days dominate too many senior conversations. It's as if aging grants a free pass to turn every discussion into a lament about how things used to be better. But here's the uncomfortable truth: constant complaining doesn't just annoy others, it rewires your brain to see only the negative. Complaining is addictive. The more you do it, the easier it becomes, until it's your default setting. And once that happens, people start avoiding you. No one wants to be around someone who drains the energy from a room. The happiest seniors aren't the ones with perfect health or ideal circumstances, they're the ones who've learned to focus on what's still good. Gratitude isn't just a fluffy self-help concept, it's a survival tool. Studies show that practicing gratitude reduces stress, improves sleep, and even strengthens the immune system. But beyond the science, it's about dignity. There's something undignified about spending your later years as a professional complainer, as if the world owes you perpetual comfort. Pain is inevitable. As we age, joints stiffen, energy wanes, losses accumulate. But suffering is optional. Suffering comes from the stories we tell ourselves: this shouldn't be happening. Everything is worse now. No one understands. These narratives don't change reality, they only amplify misery. The alternative? Acceptance paired with intentional focus. Yes, your knees hurt, but can you still walk? Maybe not as fast, but you're moving. Yes, modern music might not be your taste, but isn't it fascinating how creativity evolves? The choice isn't between pretending everything is fine or drowning in negativity. It's about balance, acknowledging hardship without letting it define you. The seniors who thrive are the ones who've mastered this balance. They don't deny their struggles, but they refuse to be consumed by them. They find joy in small things: a grandchild's laugh, a good book, a sunny afternoon. And because of that, people enjoy being around them. Complaining might feel good in the moment, but it's a spiral. The more you do it, the deeper you sink. Gratitude, on the other hand, is a ladder. It won't erase pain, but it will help you climb above it. 3. The criticism trap. Music was better in my day. No one works hard anymore. Young people have no respect. Sound familiar? These criticisms aren't just observations, they're masks for fear. Fear of irrelevance. Fear of being left behind. Fear that the world no longer values what you value. But here's the hard truth: the world doesn't owe you nostalgia. Every generation believes theirs was the golden age, and every generation is wrong. The past wasn't objectively better, it was just yours. And clinging to it doesn't make you wise, it makes you resistant. Criticism of younger generations is often thinly veiled insecurity. When you say, "Kids today are lazy," what you're really saying is, "I don't understand how they operate, and that scares me." When you dismiss modern trends as stupid, what you mean is, "I don't want to put in the effort to learn." But adaptation isn't surrender, it's power. The seniors who remain influential are the ones who engage rather than judge. They ask questions. Why do you like this music? How does this app work? They don't condescend, they converse. And in doing so, they stay connected. The alternative, becoming a relic. The bitter elder who shakes their fist at progress, who's so busy criticizing that they miss the chance to contribute. The world moves forward with or without you. You can either adapt or be left behind. Respect isn't given automatically with age, it's earned through openness. The choice is yours: evolve or fade. 4. Self-imposed isolation. Loneliness doesn't announce itself with a crash. It seeps in quietly like cold air through an open window. At first, it's just skipping a family dinner. You're tired. It's too far, you'll go next time. Then it's the weekly card game with friends. You're not in the mood, they won't miss you. Before you know it, the invitations slow down. People assume you're not interested. And suddenly, the only voice in your home is the TV, murmuring in the background like a poor substitute for conversation. But here's the cruel irony: the less you engage, the harder it becomes. Social muscles atrophy just like physical ones. A phone call feels like a chore. Small talk drains you. The idea of meeting new people is exhausting, so you retreat further, convincing yourself that solitude is peace, when in reality, it's a slow suffocation. Studies show that chronic loneliness is as deadly as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It weakens the immune system, accelerates cognitive decline, and deepens depression. Yet so many seniors dismiss it as harmless, just part of getting older. It's not. The healthiest, happiest elders aren't necessarily the ones with the most friends, but the ones who refuse to let isolation win. Margaret, 78, lost her husband 5 years ago. For months, she barely left the house. Then her daughter signed her up for a pottery class, a decision Margaret resented at first. But showing up that first day, hands shaking as she molded the clay, changed everything. It wasn't about the pottery. It was about the woman next to her, laughing as her vase collapsed. It was about the coffee afterward, the shared complaints about aching backs, the plans for next week. Staying connected isn't about being the life of the party. It's about showing up even when you don't want to. It's about saying yes when every instinct says no. Because isolation is a trap, and the only way out is to move toward people, not away from them. 5. Health neglect. The body is a merciless accountant. Every skipped walk, every ignored ache, every "I'll deal with it later" gets recorded. And the interest compounds. "I'm too old to exercise" is a lie. The wheelchair-bound 85-year-old didn't wake up that way one morning. It started with avoiding stairs because of knee pain. Then walking became slower, then unsteady, then impossible. Meanwhile, the 90-year-old still gardening didn't win a genetic lottery, she just never stopped moving. Doctors aren't perfect, but dismissing all medical advice as a money grab is like refusing to fix a leaky roof because some contractors overcharge. Yes, the system is flawed. Yes, aging brings discomfort. But willful ignorance has consequences. The diabetic who doesn't believe in insulin loses toes. The smoker who knows someone who lived to 100 inches spends their last decade gasping for air. Health isn't about perfection, it's about damage control. It's the 70-year-old with arthritis doing chair yoga, the lifelong couch potato taking his first water aerobics class, the woman who finally gets her hearing aids and realizes birds still sing. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. The body remembers how to heal if you let it. 6. The hoarding mindset. Objects become anchors. That chipped vase isn't just a vase, it's the anniversary trip where you bought it. The boxes of yellowed newspapers. Might need them someday. The basement stuffed with unused furniture, just in case. But clutter isn't memory, it's gravity. Studies link hoarding to anxiety and depression. Piles of possessions create tripping hazards, dust-filled air, and a constant low-grade stress. Yet letting go feels like erasing the past. Here's the truth, your life isn't in those boxes. The love for your late spouse isn't stored in his moth-eaten sweaters. Your childhood isn't confined to cracked porcelain dolls. Freedom comes from curating, not accumulating. The Japanese practice of danshari, discarding, refusing, and separating, isn't about minimalism for aesthetics. It's about liberation. Start small. The expired medications, the duplicate kitchen tools, the good towels no one's allowed to use. Notice the relief when they're gone. Less isn't emptiness. It's space to breathe, to move, to live. 7. Refusing help. Pride is the enemy of survival. Rejecting assistance, whether with groceries or emotional support, isn't strength, it's self-sabotage. Accepting help isn't weakness, it's wisdom. But why do we do it? Why do we stiffen when a neighbor offers to carry the heavy bags, or when a friend suggests therapy after a loss? We tell ourselves we're independent, that we don't want to burden others. But beneath that lie is something uglier: fear. Fear of appearing fragile, fear of owing someone, fear of admitting we aren't the invincible figures we pretend to be. The truth, no one makes it alone. The myth of the self-made person is just that, a myth. Even the most resilient survivors had someone, a mentor who believed in them, a friend who listened at 2 a.m., a stranger who offered a hand when they stumbled. Refusing help doesn't prove your strength, it isolates you, and isolation is where resilience goes to die. Think of your body. When you're sick, it fights, but it also signals weakness, so you rest. Ignoring that signal leads to collapse. The same applies to life. Accepting help isn't surrender, it's strategy. The elderly man who lets his daughter drive him to appointments lives longer than the one who insists on struggling alone. The new parent who accepts meals from friends thrives more than the one drowning in silent exhaustion. Vulnerability is the cost of connection, and connection is the currency of survival. The next time someone offers, pause. Ask yourself, is my refusal pride or practicality? If it's pride, swallow it. Say yes. Let them in. The strongest people aren't those who never need help, they're the ones smart enough to take it. 8. Risk avoidance. The older you get, the safer you play. But safety is an illusion. Life shrinks or expands in proportion to your courage. The seniors who still travel, learn instruments, or start hobbies, they're the ones who remember how to live. Youth is reckless by design, it has to be. How else would we stumble into love, careers, or adventures? But somewhere along the way, fear creeps in. We stop jumping and start calculating. We trade spontaneity for security, forgetting that security is a myth. The job you thought was stable lays you off. The savings you counted on evaporate in a market crash. The body you assumed would always obey begins to betray you. Playing it safe doesn't prevent loss, it just ensures you lose slowly. Contrast that with the 70-year-old signing up for her first piano lesson, the widower booking a solo trip to Kyoto, the retired teacher starting a podcast. They're not reckless, they're alive. They understand that risk doesn't disappear with age, it just changes shape. The risk of regret becomes far scarier than the risk of failure. The brain resists novelty, it's wired to prefer the familiar, even when the familiar is mediocre. But growth lives on the other side of discomfort. Every time you say, "I'm too old for this," you're not stating a fact, you're making a choice. A choice to stop growing, to stop discovering, to let the world narrow around you. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision that curiosity matters more. So ask yourself, what's the riskier option, trying or not trying? Because in the end, the only true failure is letting fear dictate your life. 9. Living in the past. Nostalgia is a drug, it numbs the present. Yes, your youth had glory, but so can your now. The past is a memory, the future is a fantasy. All you have is today. We all do it. We flip through old photos and sigh. We replay victories like worn-out tapes as if they could still sustain us. We dredge up old grievances, feeding grudges long past their expiration date. Nostalgia feels warm, but it's a trap. It tricks you into comparing your present to a past that no longer exists and never was as perfect as you remember. The past is seductive because it's certain. It's already happened, there are no surprises. But life isn't meant to be a museum. The man who spends his retirement reliving high school football wins isn't honoring his past, he's burying his present. The woman who clings to a decades-old heartbreak isn't protecting herself. She's refusing to let new love in. The antidote: presence. Not mindfulness jargon, but the raw, messy act of engaging with now. The taste of your morning coffee. The absurdity of a grandchild's joke. The way the light hits your porch in the afternoon. These are the moments that make a life, not the milestones you've already passed. The past can be a teacher, but never a home. Visit it, learn from it, then leave. Because the only moment you can change, the only moment you can live, is this one. 10. Resisting change. Change is the only constant. Fighting it is like shaking your fist at the tide. It keeps coming no matter how much you protest. The happiest seniors don't waste energy resisting. They adapt, adjust, and sometimes even embrace the new. Take technology, for example. Some older adults grumble about smartphones, social media, or voice assistants, dismissing them as unnecessary complications. But those who take the time to learn even just the basics find a world of connection at their fingertips. Video calls with grandkids, online grocery deliveries, virtual museum tours, these aren't just conveniences, they're lifelines to the modern world. Then there's language. Slang evolves, words take on new meanings, and cultural references shift. It's easy to feel left behind, to scoff at phrases you don't understand. But the alternative: isolation. The seniors who stay curious, who ask their grandkids, "What does slay mean?" or "Why is everyone saying Riz?" They stay relevant. They keep conversations flowing instead of watching them pass by. And what about societal changes? Values shift, traditions adapt, and norms that once felt absolute now seem outdated. Clinging to the past doesn't preserve it, it only widens the gap between generations. The ones who thrive are those who listen, who accept that the world moves forward, and who find ways to stay part of it rather than standing stubbornly in its way. Flexibility doesn't mean abandoning your identity. It means choosing your battles. Some changes are worth resisting, most aren't. The key is knowing the difference. The seniors who roll with the waves stay buoyant. The ones who fight them, they just end up exhausted. 11. Emotional bottling. I don't want to burden anyone. It's a noble thought until it becomes a prison. Unspoken pain doesn't vanish, it festers. It turns into sleepless nights, unexplained aches, or sudden outbursts over trivial things. The strongest seniors aren't the ones who never show weakness, they're the ones brave enough to say, "I'm not okay." Consider grief. Many older adults swallow their sorrow after losing a spouse, a friend, or even their independence. They tell themselves, "Others have it worse," or "I should be over this by now." But grief doesn't follow a schedule. Burying it only makes it heavier. The ones who allow themselves to cry, to talk, to admit they're struggling, they heal. The ones who lock it away, they carry it forever. Then there's pride. Asking for help feels like admitting defeat. I used to do this myself, they think, refusing a walking stick, a ride to the doctor, or even just a listening ear. But vulnerability isn't weakness, it's courage. The seniors who reach out don't just survive, they build deeper connections. The ones who refuse, they end up alone with their stubbornness. And what about regrets? Unspoken guilt, unresolved conflicts, words left unsaid, they gnaw at the soul. The lucky ones find a way to make amends, to forgive themselves, to release the past. The ones who keep it bottled, it poisons their present. The truth is, people want to help. Loved ones aren't waiting to judge, they're waiting to be let in. Speaking up isn't a burden, it's a gift. It lets others love you, not just the version of you that's always fine. 12. Abandoning routine. No schedule, =, no purpose. Without structure, days blur into a shapeless void. The seniors who thrive are the ones who still wake with intention, who dress like they matter, who fill their hours like they're worth something. Think about the mornings of those who age well. They rise at a reasonable hour, not because they have to, but because they choose to. They make their bed, brew their coffee, read the paper, small rituals that say, "Today counts." Contrast that with those who stay in pajamas until noon, who let the TV drone in the background, who treat time as something to kill rather than something to live. The difference isn't energy, it's discipline. Meals matter too. Sitting down to a real breakfast, not just toast over the sink. Setting the table, even if it's just for one. The act says, "I'm worth the effort." The ones who graze on snacks, who eat standing up, who skip meals altogether. They're not just neglecting food, they're neglecting themselves. And then there's activity. Not busy work, but meaningful engagement. A daily walk, a crossword, a phone call to a friend. The seniors who schedule these things don't do it to pass time, they do it to claim time. The ones who drift, they wake up one day and wonder where the years went. Routine isn't a cage. It's a framework that holds life together. Without it, everything collapses. The choice is yours. Aging is inevitable. Decline is optional. These 12 behaviors aren't laws, they're warnings. You can be the senior who's vibrant, engaged, and admired, or the one who's bitter, forgotten, and frail. The time to decide is now. Thank you for investing your time in this. If this resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself, share it. And if you want more hard truths to help you live better, subscribe to this channel. Your future self will thank you. Stay sharp, stay curious, and most importantly, stay awake. The clock is ticking.